Welcome to the Four Rooms podcast, where we explore the four rooms of entrepreneurship: health, wealth, scale, and relationships. Each episode is dedicated to opening new doors and uncovering insights that empower you to design your entrepreneurial journey to be both lucrative and fulfilling. And now, your hosts, Amber Spears and Brett Kaufman.
We are here at the Four Rooms podcast with Mr. Brett Lingle with Dispute.com, but you also do a lot more as well.
Yeah. We just started a new company called Fuse Offers because it comes out of our kind of campaign management company. We basically help people put together offers, build it, manage the back end, do the not very fun stuff so the offer owner can do what they're passionate about.
Okay.
Whether creating products, creating content. We'll do the not fun stuff while you focus on the stuff that you're passionate about, so you don't get bogged down by the stuff you're not passionate about and then not want to be in business anymore.
Like the talks that we had today here in Atlanta, I think a lot of that was reflective. How did you get your start?
I started off probably 12 years ago as an affiliate.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, I don't want to be an affiliate. I want to compact the whole pipeline and own the offer. So I built my own offer and started basically being an affiliate for my own offer. And then I had friends who were offer owners and affiliates who were like, well, I want to do it too. So I started helping them, and then they started giving me a cut of their offer. Before you know it, I was actually making more money helping people manage their offers and set up their backends and kind of being like a funnel expert for them. So I kind of made a little bit of a transition to that.
Brent's the funnel expert backend. That's so valuable. Like, I do affiliate marketing. That's like my other business. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done that forever. It's very rare that I see someone who is an affiliate that then tries to be an offer owner and really has success. Mm-hmm. Because what I see so often is they're only used to seeing like one number. It's like, how much money did I make when I promoted it? And they see other people making a lot of money. They're like, I want to be an offer owner. But then they don't understand the complexities of things like, supply chain management or, running a team or anything like that. They're more soloed. So it's really interesting to me to hear your journey from an affiliate to now becoming this like back end, like backbone almost for these people that are becoming, affiliates are becoming offer owners or offer owners in general. Like, I think that's a really unique skill set, dude, because you have to be so creative to be an affiliate. Like, your brain has to really function in the creative way, but then also you're a bit of a unicorn because if you can do all the back end stuff, like, you're also really focused on solving complex problems. And that's like a very different side of your brain. It's like way more linear. It's interesting. I don't meet a lot of people like you.
I'm like an accountant artist.
Yeah.
My brain like fights with that. Like, there's a side that's very creative. I like to think up angles. I like to watch people and talk to people and get a general idea of what angle presents itself. But then I also have this very like analytical part of my brain and curious part. And that curiosity doesn't stop at the art piece. It goes deep. Eventually, when I became an offer owner, I started looking at my merchant statements. And I'm like, what are all these line items on here?
Yeah.
Where is all my money going? I see this. When I was an affiliate, you're right, 3 numbers. What am I spending? What am I making? Equals.
Or what am
I having a fun day or am I having a terrible day because I lost money? When I transitioned to the offer side, there were a lot more numbers.
Totally.
And there was a lot of get a good bookkeeper and make that good bookkeeper your best friend, because they will help you in a sense to understand. I don't want to say you're going from running something simple. No, it's very hard being an affiliate. It's a very intense job, but the back end is also intense and it's not as fun. It's not as rewarding because you're breaking down merchant statements. You're getting calls from the fulfillment company like, hey, we didn't get this raw ingredient in, so now we can't get your product out for 2 weeks. So you're trying to balance, do I take new sales? Do I pause my sales? Do I call my existing customers, let them know? Not generally fun stuff. No. It's fun, but stressful. So over the years, we've kind of turned that into kind of a managed back end for people, but also like generally will share anything. So we have no proprietary systems. I usually just tell people there's a formula, learn the formula, stick to the formula. And then once you become kind of an expert at the formula, then reinvent. Kind of like an artist.
If you can break it down as simply as you can. I know there's a lot of complexity to it.
Yeah. Front end, where you're bringing in new customers. So that's where you're getting the most creative. You're using big ideas to draw people in, to really get them out of the, we go through the day looking at our phones. We're preoccupied. The big idea really like gets their attention. So your front end, you're pulling them, that's where you're pulling them in. And then you start working on backends. And within each of the front end and the back end, like for Nutra, the formula is generally 6 bottles, 3 bottles, 1 bottle, upsell, downsell, upsell, downsell. For kind of coaching stuff, you'll see more of like an ascension model where they'll get them in for like a free webinar, gain some trust, and then start to sell those higher ticket items. Generally, whatever your kind of offer is, be it supplement, coaching, content, digital, figure out what the formula is, because the biggest competitor or offer owner in your space will be probably using the formula. So just look at that.
Let's model them.
Yeah, model it. It's like with copywriting, swiping.
Right.
Don't take completely because you don't want to be known as the person. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like good art should inspire and you should look at it as art. So that's generally why I kind of come back to that.
The artist accountant friend. I like that.
Yeah. So like with
that's
art.
So good.
Yeah. With art, they say you got to learn the rules before you break the rules. And with direct response or selling in general, learn the formula, the rules. And then once you kind of get that for your product type, then you'll be able to eventually break those rules and kind of reinvent. And that's where you see some of those paradigms. I hate to sound like corporate paradigm shift, but that's where some people who've learned the rules start breaking them and figuring out new things that eventually become what is swiped or what is the new formula. So
I think you need to change your name, like your title name, to artist accountant. Because it is rare, dude. I only know like a couple people like you. One of them is my really dear friend, Lee Richter. She owns like a 9-figure business and multiple 8 figures. And she's like that. She's an artist accountant brain. And it's pretty incredible to watch what you can do with that type of like mind. It's like mine's pure artist.
Yeah. So
like I struggle with that other side. It's my weakness and I'm working on that. But the more that I learn it, the more I'm like, oh, I can see how I can make my art even better. Because those numbers and those things translate into me being able to do more of that. And that's helped me just reignite my desire to learn it. Because I see how it allows me to express myself better. But like it's a gift that you have. And how does that translate at like dispute.com versus Fuse? Can you give like a breakdown of what each of those, because you mentioned Fuse a little bit, but like I'd love to kind of hear like more like nitty gritty, like why did you start them and like how did this whole thing happen? I know more about Fuse, but I'm also really interested in Dispute.
Sure. So we still have like a primary campaign management company. So with the payment processing, like protecting that is like the number one for your business. If you can't take payments, you don't really have a revenue generating business. And I got really tired of having to go through multiple reps at like chargeback and anti-fraud companies to get things done. I didn't like the way it was being done. So I basically just started my own. We worked direct with Visa, MasterCard. We grew to an 8-figure business pretty quick on that one. I like the name dispute.com. It was available. So I just bought it.
It's a great name. I was going to ask you, did you pay $800,000 for that domain?
It was really a lot. Yeah. But
it's a great domain though.
That's part of the art piece. We could have called it whatever and it would have still been an 8-figure business, but I just liked it and I felt like it fit and I just went with my gut. And it's helped a lot. It's helped the business grow because it's simple. It's a brand. But that's the art piece where you're like, I don't have to buy this domain for this business to be successful because a lot of it comes from the campaign management lead gen, but we just wanted to do it. We felt like it was a good fit. So not everything has to be like a wise business decision per se.
It was art.
Yeah, you can have fun. You don't have to do everything by the numbers all the time. You can have we're entrepreneurs because we want to express ourselves. So let those things be an expression of who you are. Other people might not look at it as art. They'll see it as savvy business. But any savvy business person, there is like an element of art to what they do.
Absolutely.
The science and the art, I guess, is what they say. So
that's cool. So for dispute.com, like when you're working with a client, can you walk me through like how you take some of the load off of a client, or like, do you have any like stories that jump out at you of like you really helping a business owner turn something around?
Yeah.
By being a part of their team in that way.
When I started it, I wanted actual reps to help everybody. I didn't want my clients to go through chat boxes or pop-up chat boxes trying to figure out problems. Everybody got a rep, and the saying is everybody gets their hand held, because it's not a fun part of the business. I feel like we see hand holding as kind of like a negative thing. I don't. If it's not a fun thing. So like if you're struggling with chargebacks, or you're looking at your processing and you're kind of like, what is going on? Why are my customers charging back? Why am I getting disputes? We can kind of dig in and figure out, is it a customer type? Is there something in your funnel or your business that's causing this? Or is this something that comes with your business, and we accept it, we figure it out, but that's where our reps will kind of come in, and they know to like really help, be very proactive for you to represent like you as the merchant. So rather than trying to take every client we can get, we kind of, I don't want to say we handpick, but we try to make sure we have the capacity to make sure everybody kind of gets their handheld, because it's not a fun piece. You want to focus on your product.
Yeah.
In your business. It's like trying to do your own customer service. It's like you'll learn a lot from taking calls and talking to customers, but you don't want to get bogged down with it. So it's kind of like one piece of our business where we'll kind of take your hand and together we'll walk with you and kind of guide you. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you have like any like specific stories around like a client of yours that was struggling with it, and like what you noticed? Like I'm curious when you're saying like it might be something in your funnel, or it might be this, like maybe things that we've never even thought about as business owners that we need to take a look at, because it could lead to a dispute or a chargeback.
Sure. Yeah. We had one customer who was getting a lot of chargebacks. And so we decided to dig into their funnel, because we found out that their customers were getting confused on the upsell, because the language made it seem that the upsell was actually a reduction in price from the initial product. So the customers were coming through, and I mean, as like a business owner, you can kind of see that this is a separate thing, but the way it was worded made it seem like, hey, we're going to give you this reduction on your initial cost because we like you and we're your friend. We fixed that language, and the problem cleared up almost immediately, because we really like hammered it home that this was actually a separate thing. It's cheaper because now you're a customer. You just bought the first one, so you're getting this one cheaper. So we fixed that language, and that kind of, we actually made less money at dispute. The goal isn't to make it's obviously a business and it's a revenue generating business, but the goal is to also kind of help you protect your merchant processing. And it's more than just being like, we do alerts, we do chargebacks. It's kind of looking at the funnel and figuring out is there a problem in there? And some business owners are like, I see it, I know it's there, I don't want to touch it. It's staying the way it is. And that's just how it works. At the end of the day, it's your business. So, but a lot of people want to dig in and figure out. And that can be working with customer service too, and looking at scripts to see what the customers are calling in and saying. I mean, that's the deep, like analytical part where we can kind of really dig in and kind of find issues. So
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's a really great example. I'm really glad that you shared that with me. It's really interesting. It's interesting too, almost like the better job you do with them, the less money that you make. Like, right? Like that's a really, like in terms of training them, how to not have these in the first place. Like,
yeah.
I really admire that, because in my other business, it's an agency, and I always tell them like, I'm the worst agency owner on earth, because I know what's best for your business. At a certain level, you need to have your own in-house team. So I'm going to do all the hard, nasty grunt work to like get this thing over the edge. And like, by the time we figure out our processes and systems for you, like, that's where as an agency, you start, once you establish the baseline and you have your affiliates promoting and things are cooking with gas, then you can still keep the same retainer and just skate on that because you're way less work. It's all the initial pushing the boulder up the hill. But to me, like I have like a very short like desire and lifespan for that because I'm like, listen, if you're doing a certain level of success, what's going to get you the next level is not working with an agency externally. It's going to be working with an in-house team. And maybe you're working with us as an agency too, but working in-house with somebody who's only devoted to your account every single day is what's most important. Because really from an agency perspective, when I'm looking at from my lens, I'm not having someone full-time just dedicated to just your account. We have a full-time team that is rotating based on availability and need and everything else, right? They're not living, breathing, eating, sleeping, just your business.
Yeah.
Or else we wouldn't be an agency. So you and I have a lot of alignment in that, where it's like at a certain point, you're going to graduate, and your graduation is a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Because it means that you're growing as a business and as a company, and that's just good for all of us.
Yeah.
Because that shows that we have new joint venture partners, or we have a client success story, or what have you. So I think it's really cool that you think of it that way. And I like the hand holding because disputes and chargebacks are the worst.
Yeah.
And I want someone to hold my hand. That's great.
And you get a customer, it becomes more than just a client relationship. When you do stuff like that, these are people who you now work with for a decade. Okay. You can build more businesses on top of that. You can build a larger organization. If you're turning and burning all the time, you're just kind of swimming.
Totally.
And the more that I get into my builder phase, as I call it, where I'm kind of owning multiple businesses, learning more on how to, I don't even think of it as managing people anymore. I don't ever say I have employees now. I say I have partners, because I try to treat everybody like a partner, and that extends to the client that I work with. That I think of myself more as like, at the end of the day, it's your business, and anything that happens, it's your business. But, I like to be right there with you. And you grow that way, as opposed to constantly just searching for the next meal. You build that base, and then the base gets bigger, and the base gets bigger. So it'll be interesting to see.
Work, dude.
Yeah.
That's the key. Like, you continue to do good work. That's like that. It's your ability to hold relationships, but it's also the fact that you do really, really good work. Yeah. Because they wouldn't keep that relationship with you if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's also really important. I love how you think about them as partners, like your team and your clients. Like that's really cool. It's a good nugget I'm going to take away from that.
Yeah.
Because you feel like that, but it's different saying it and like naming it,
I never thought of myself as somebody who would be like an employer. And I felt like everything in business taught that you need to like be an employer and call everybody an employee and I just decided, like, at a certain point, I did that and I wasn't growing. And when I kind of just focused more on myself and building the culture around kind of who I am, I went that route, and things just kind of kept expanding. And it wasn't because, I don't think it was because people necessarily don't like to be employees, or even, they want that stability for sure. But it was more so me setting the culture tone around what makes the relationship a bit more comfortable for me, not necessarily them. So they still get that support, stability, but I kind of build a culture around my personality in a sense. And
let's double click on that. Walk me through like an example of what you do in your culture.
So as I've kind of grown and have hired more people and have gotten more and more people, I felt like I had to take this like businessman approach. I'm a businessman now, and I've got employees, and because I didn't really have like mentors and stuff. So that's what I thought it was. And I think it was too much of like a grinding approach on everybody. And so I learned to like soften my personality, because it is like, I have like a softer personality. I don't ever want to fire people. Like, I try to make things work. And the more I embrace my own like leadership style, the more it reflected in the culture. And I started hiring based around that. So when like I look for people who are comfortable in a startup or comfortable in a newer business. And I try to figure out, would they be a good fit with a team? If they're looking like for a Fortune 500 environment, then it's a disservice to them. It's a disservice to me, because they're going to come in and be uncomfortable. And that you see as you get more and more people in your organization, it can kind of grind things to a halt, because if you're pushing a stone uphill, you need a bunch of people working together who understand each other. Like if you jump off this stone, it's going to roll over us.
It's going to crush us.
Yeah. And if the people aren't like talking and that culture of like working together, before you know, one person's pushing this way, one person's pushing this way. Not to use like that analogy, but it kind of just makes sense. Yeah, yeah. And you're trying to push a stone uphill together. So you need to make sure you get along, like you kind of share a lot of the same things. And then most of all is communication, that you can communicate easily. Because I feel like humans don't always interface. Like we just don't. 7 billion people, and not that we don't get along, we just don't have that. I don't know. I feel like it's something intrinsic, I guess, like an intrinsic way to communicate with somebody else where you just know what you're saying to each other. So, and that kind of, I always thought culture was like BS, and it was like, you just go to work and you work. And then the more I've kind of grown, that's now mindset and culture is like, it's very important.
That's really what I hear the most from my 8 and 9 figure business owner, like peers and friends, like that's what they really focus on. It's like the holding the vision of the company and holding the company culture. And like, that is their primary job. Like they might be holding a few key relationships, but it's like empowering the team, developing leaders on the team, and just holding that. So it's very consistent throughout that I hear from people at your level. And it just, reinforces, I hope, for anyone listening or watching, it's like when you're at, when you're at that level, when you're focusing on that.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're just starting your business, you're not thinking about culture. You're thinking about getting your next sale. You're thinking about how to keep the lights on. Right. And then it's when you start graduating to your next level of success that you can start thinking about these things, because you're not the only one doing everything. So I think that's a signal for people wanting to know, like, how do I meet more people like you? It's like, that's a signal. It's like, what are you focusing on? You're focusing on being a builder. You're focusing on and holding the company culture and like holding that torch. That's what you're doing. And you can do that because you've reached that level of success and you have a team around you. Yeah.
I feel like I've thrashed a lot of my life and was like, that's just, it's the analytical side of me. There's like, well, you just look at the numbers and that's what they are. And if the numbers aren't the numbers, then everybody's got to go. But you don't retain people that way. You don't build that way because not everybody does it like that. So over the last 3 years, especially, I've really embraced like mindset and like culture, because that seems to really be the way to like grow. Because to grow a business, you need other humans. And a lot of my years, I was just a man on an island who worked and was very successful. But I'm getting older. I'm 40 now. I have kids. It's time to start thinking about like building more, doing more. And as I've scaled up 20 people, tons of contractors, tons of offshore workers, it's become more and more important how important it is to kind of build that culture, that mindset, and making sure your mindset like permeates to the team. Because it's just kind of like a fake it till you make it. So I don't wake up every day like super happy or super chipper. So making sure you're holding like a positive attitude, even in adversity. So like putting out all the little fires, doing that in a way that doesn't demoralize everybody around you. So that's a huge thing to learn. So
I'd love to hear about like your family and how you're a business owner and how you're also like a dad. Like how much time do you get to spend with them? How old are your kids? Like, how are you leading them as a father? And is there any similarities between how you're leading your team and your companies as well? Or are they like two totally separate tracks?
I'm still kind of figuring that all out. I'm really lucky in the fact that I work from home. So I've gotten to see a lot of things that, a lot of dads don't see when they're out at the office.
Totally.
Seeing my kid walk for the first time. It's hard to balance this stuff though, because I have a 3.5-year-old and a 4-month-old. So the younger one wants to come into my office a lot.
Of course.
And I just let her know. I've just, at one point I was like, I'm on a call, this, that. Now she just walks in. And it's funny because other people kind of like let their hair down, so to speak, on the call. And their kids run in.
Oh, that's cute.
And we kind of all realize like we're humans. We work from home now. We have kids. I generally try to keep the business life and the home life separate outside of that, because the business life can be very stressful. And you can take, especially when you work from home, you can take that from the home office
Totally.
into the like kitchen. So I have to be very mindful of that, because, 4-year-olds want to swim in the pool
Right.
or go to the park.
Right.
Want to talk about chargebacks or like funnels,
Right.
stuff like that. So I think that's something I'm still figuring out, how to balance all of that. That said, we do have offices, because I find a lot of people don't want to work from home or want to get to an office a couple of days a week just to get out of the house. I see it with myself. I work from home a lot, and then I leave the house and I'm like, oh, these are humans. We connect. Oh, you're a human. I'm a human. When you stay at home and work from home and you work a lot, you can get very like dialed into that like mindset. So getting out of the house has been our priority as of late. Spend enough time on the computer, just time to put it away, get out. That's the beauty of having kids. They will force you to get off your phone or get out of the house. Because I get in the pool with my daughter every day, and she said, I don't want you to check any messages today. She says that every time now.
So cute.
Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, I got to check this message. And she's like,
nah,
no,
we're not doing that.
And she preempts every time now. She goes, but we're not going to check messages. I don't want you to check messages. You're not going to check messages. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my phone away.
I love her.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's a good way to like get you out of your head. And that's the beauty of kids and having young kids at a little bit later in life at 40, that they're able to they're very into me and mom. Whereas with older kids, they might just let me work in my office all day because they want to do other stuff. But with little kids, especially a 4-month-old, I don't really care about chargebacks. They have a dirty diaper.
Right.
Your wife has been at home with taking care of them all day.
She needs a break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's powerful. Like for me, I moved from San Diego to Tampa about 1.5 years ago because I was the bachelorette, and my partner has 2 kids and a husband, which, by the way, if anyone's listening or hearing, it's a much nicer term to call an ex if you like them. Okay? Because ex feels weird.
Yeah.
Husband or wife feels a lot just like easier. We named him that because he's a great guy and he's a great dad, and we all get along really well. We travel together and stuff.
It's a great term. It implies like an existing relationship.
Totally.
Ex is kind of like,
totally like, we're done with this.
I get it, yeah.
Right? It's like broken, but
that's cool.
I've learned a lot from watching her like parent and watching him parent. And also, for years, like my baby was my businesses. That was it. And so when I moved, we have them part-time, and they're older. They're, 13 and 16, but I've been around them for the last, 3 years. And it is really interesting to me to realize like all of a sudden things shifted inside of me, because I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't actually want to travel on this week that we have them, because I haven't seen them in a week. And like when they're here, I want to shut my laptop off and eat dinner with them, make dinner with them. And they're not my biological kids, but they're growing into children that I love and respect and want to spend time with. And my partner and I want to have kids soon, because I've never had kids, and I really want to be a parent. And every parent that I've talked to, like you, they keep saying the same thing, how having a child forces them to stop being such a workaholic and really helps them time manage better. Because like I could be on my computer all day long. Is everything that I'm doing like really moving the needle in my business that only I can do? Yeah. No. And I realized that even just like this part-time thing with them, where I'm like, okay, well, I've got 6 hours today. If I want to spend time with them, then I need to knock out, the most important priorities, and the rest, it's done. So it's been really interesting to see that. I'm in the middle, right? Yeah. Because they're not fully my kids, but I do feel an innate and strong sense of responsibility and love for them. And I do see how when I do have my own 4-month-old, how that's going to change, so much. So I think it's really cool to hear and learn from you, like how you navigate and think through building your companies and, almost like running your family and how that works. It's really interesting.
Yeah. supportive partner is a big one.
It's a huge one.
Shout out to my wife.
How'd you guys meet?
At a bar.
Okay.
Many years ago.
A great love story.
Yeah. I was playing bass in a friend's band. Like I picked up bass and we met, and she was there to see the band. And
so that you're a little cutie. That's what happened.
Yeah. The rest is history. That's a big one. Supportive spouse helps a lot, because especially with raising children, sometimes they can forego things that they wanted in their life. And there's a lot of gratification in raising kids, and you get to be like, look at my beautiful kids. But at the end of the day, it's like you and your spouse who love your kids. Other people just see that as like a happy family. So having a spouse who's willing to kind of forego what some of her personal dreams and desires and career would be to raise a family and make sure that we can live this life and support me, it's really nice. It makes for a really strong bond. And I see a lot of those bonds in older people. And I started to realize that stuff as I got older, moving out of the like offer owner, like Justin hype stage of my life where I'm like, yeah, let's make money, to becoming an adult. I'm a 4-year-old boy, probably starting to become a man now. So
the prince into a king is what Alison Armstrong would call it.
Yeah.
It was like one of my favorite like authors around that. It's really cool, man. I love learning more about you, because we just met literally yesterday on the jet. So
yeah.
I had a chance to talk to you yet, and I've heard about you from Zoe and other people, and it's just been really cool getting to spend this time with you, because like that's my favorite thing to do with my career, is to like meet other awesome entrepreneurs and learn from them. And I feel like I've learned a lot about what you do, and like also just how you care. I don't find, and this is changing, I would say it's changing more every year, that men in marriages give that sort of accolade and understand that it's a huge responsibility and it is a sacrifice that their partners are making. So I will definitely clip this out and send it to your wife, because I'm sure that she will appreciate that, hearing that perspective, because it is true, right? The sacrifice is not just staying at home with the kids. It's like physically carrying the children and like all the stuff that comes along with it, and being a mother. So I think it's really cool to hear you share that. It shows me where your heart is, and I think it's really beautiful.
I appreciate it. Yeah, because just to touch on that point, like mom doesn't get raises and come home and be like, I got promoted at work. Mom doesn't get accolades of, I did this. A lot of times mom is up in the middle of the night changing a diaper. And the only people who can appreciate that is you or the baby. So I think it's them being supportive, but you also recognize like and supporting in reverse and acknowledging that I see the sacrifice and the sacrifice you take for this family and what you're giving up potentially, or giving up in general. So
that's beautiful, dude.
And then the last thing, this was the first time I've ever come to a mastermind. The first time I've ever done a podcast. Normally I try to just stay behind the curtain and kind of, if you know me, you know me. If you happen into my sphere, welcome. So this is kind of me trying to grow a little bit more. It's like coming to a mastermind, meeting people, and you've made me feel extremely welcome. So I appreciate that, and appreciate your community for all being friendly to me, because generally can be not the most social person. I can live in my bubble behind the curtain working. So it's awesome to kind of get out and realize that you can be part of a community, a bigger community. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sharing that. And thank you for coming and being an expert, because you have like literally so much that you can support us on. And it's you taking the time like away from your 4-month-old and your 4-year-old and your wife and all your companies and all the things that you're doing to come and contribute and be part of the tide that raises all the boats, right? And so that is not something that I ever take lightly from any single person that ever comes to our events. That's why I always say, like, I will go the extra mile. I will do more than probably anyone else is willing to do to make sure that we have the right people at the right time in the right rooms to support each other. And that means a lot to me that you came and left and are here with us for 3 days. And what you're going to be doing is giving. And so that's just like, again, a testament to who you are and where your heart is. And so I just feel really blessed that you're here, and I feel blessed that you're teaching. And I'm so glad that we could have this conversation and get to know each other better. And this is just the very beginning of our friendship, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful, and I'm really glad to hear you're a great fit for us.
Likewise. You're in Tampa, I'm in Tampa, so.
No, dude, now we're going to hang.
Yeah.
I want to go to this bar where you met your wife.
There we go.
I want to get the story, dude. I want to picture it.
Yeah, it's an Irish bar, so it's a fun place. So.
I'm in, dude.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's do it. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap up, but last kind of question for you is, 4 rooms is really based on the 4 rooms of an entrepreneur's life. I call it just kind of simply, it's health, wealth, scale, relationships, but there's so much underneath that, right? So it's like, for health, for me, it's really like, how are you taking care of yourself? How are you maintaining your own health? Wealth could also be legacy, which I think you're in legacy building now because you're thinking about building, right? Scale of your business, I think you've covered some of that. And then, of course, relationships, community. So is there any like thoughts or tips that you have for any of those 4 areas that you're currently doing or wish you would have known before that you can share with our audience before we leave?
Yeah. Try to protect your personal health because as an entrepreneur, sometimes luckily for some, your health is built into your business. For me, it's not. So I can let my kind of desire and obsession with business, like forego my health. So I find years later, I put on a lot more weight. I'm not sleeping as well. I'm not taking care of myself the way I should. And now that I actually have 2 kids, I'm like, okay, I'm reprioritizing my personal health because I want to see them graduate. I want to see them do other things. And I'm getting into that age where if I don't personally, physically take care of myself, it just goes downhill. So that's one area that I'm like really focused on right now is personal health. So
we can help in any way. We've had some of the best concierge medical doctors in the community and anything that you need on that. Like I'm incredibly well connected because I was very unhealthy and I'm still on my own health journey. I had a hysterectomy 8 years ago because I sacrificed my body in the altar of success. I was eating terribly. I was always on the road. I was so stressed out. And it cost me the ability to have my own children and, carrying my own children. So now it's a very strategic planning and like all these other things involved in it. I mean, I'm still battling with the health issues, I was just in the hospital this past weekend for something that related to my ovaries, right? It's like, and why? Because I'm in the middle of a huge amount of stress right now. And so I know that to be true. And that's why, like being in this community, in this environment, like we're going to really support each other and making small steps to do that. Because we know, like, really, a wealthy man might have 1,000 dreams, but an unhealthy one only has one, which is to get his health back, right?
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Yeah, man. So I think you're in the right place because I do completely agree with you that like this is the next frontier for many of us, which is like you had the business success. Yeah. And it's come a lot of times at a great personal cost.
Very.
So how do we continue to grow our businesses, but continue to have abundance in our physical health and our relationships with our loved ones and with others, our abundance and like our legacy in terms of charity and the young future entrepreneurs we're impacting or what have you. Like, I think that's really where success, I think a lot of people look at success only as something financial. And I've never, ever felt like that way. I think I'm probably one of the richest people in the world with my relationships. Yeah. And I truly feel that. Right. Yeah. So I've also been unbalanced in other areas. And that's why we named it 4 rooms. It's like really looking like, where am I spending the most time in? Yeah. If it's all on the scale one, more than likely my health is suffering, right? My wealth might be kicking, right? But my relationships are probably also suffering. Yeah. So like just knowing that it's important to be in harmony. Like I'll leave you with this one thought that I heard from Lisa Nichols, which was like one of my favorite fucking speakers on earth. She was like the most famous one from The Secret. She's like amazing. And she said this thing where she's like, balance is bullshit, harmony is everything, right? Because if you look at like a pie chart of 24 hours in a day, you're not saying, okay, to your 4-year-old, okay, daddy has 23 minutes for you every day to be in the pool. And that's what you get, right? Because I have 23 minutes for this and I have, 8 hours for my business and I have this hours for my sleep and that's balance, right? Like, that's not true. Yeah. It's about harmony. Right now, you're probably spending less time on the business because what's happening right now is you have a 4-month-old and a 4-year-old. Yeah. So this is the harmony. Like, how do we keep all these things in harmony, not necessarily in balance? Because some things are going to be incredibly imbalanced.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely dig into that more because the balance changes. So the harmony makes more sense because the life ebbs and flows of everything that's going on. So.
And it feels better. I feel like balancing feels like shut up, like, and you're like, oh my God,
it's got like a negative connotation to it. Whereas, because you're trying to balance, whereas harmony has a very positive outlook and thought, and it makes more sense because it's more realistic. So.
And it feels better too.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, this is a great
awesome
conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. You're welcome. Anytime.
Love it.
Thank you, dude.
Awesome. Thank you.
As we wrap up today's episode, we have something special just for you. If you've been inspired by what we've explored today and you're ready to take your learning to the next level, then our 4 Rooms Mastermind live event is the perfect next step. And because you're a part of our podcast family, we're offering an exclusive 10% discount on your registration when you apply and are accepted. This is your chance. It's your chance to build relationships with other ambitious entrepreneurs like yourself, to dive deeper into the 4 rooms of entrepreneurship, and to connect with experts who can truly help accelerate your growth. Simply follow the event link in the description of this episode and use the promo code 4rooms10. That's FOURROOMS10 on your application to claim this opportunity. This offer is subject to application approval and it's limited, so don't wait too long to make your decision. Join us and transform your journey with the insights and networking that only our live events can offer. Thank you for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you at the event and, of course, right back here next time on the 4 Rooms podcast. Until then, keep balancing and keep growing.